Okay, this video is an open letter to married women. And what this is about is I have more and more guys come talk to me now about divorce because their wives are divorcing them. And about 80% of divorces are filed by the women. And Pearl Davis she's like this real funny social commentator lady. She's got a YouTube channel. She says that most of the time, in her experience, the women file divorce for stupid reasons. And from what I've seen, that is true. I've seen a whole bunch of divorces. I know lots of people very well, close, that are divorced and that their wives just filed for divorce. And I think a lot of this feminism, which comes from Satanism, is just, destroying their minds and making them do stupid, bad stuff. When I was a kid growing up, my mom was the family. I mean, she ran everything. She was the matriarch, the queen. Back in those days, the man would tend to work full time and the woman would tend to not work at all other than, run the family as a housewife. And that's a great thing. People look down on a housewife. Let me tell you, those women were happy and they had a much better life than these modern women. In the 1960s, my mom was like a celebrity, 1970s, like a celebrity matriarch. She was the queen of the whole family, Mother's Day was the second biggest holiday of the year after Christmas, and it was almost as big of a holiday. We had all these guests and visitors. The modern women, they say things like, well, I outgrew my husband. Yeah, you outgrew him. You got fatter than him. They often have an affair. They're just bored. And I see terrible things happen to their kids. I see their kids go from being pretty successful, productive kids to dropping out of college, dropping out of grad school. I seen this med student, his mother, had an affair, cheated on the father, left him, and it messed up the family. One boy in college had all kinds of problems. The boy in med school dropped out, became an alcoholic. I see another one where the husband says, screw this, I'm not going through. He'd been divorced before. He said, I'm not going through divorce again. He just committed suicide. I see another one, let's say, where the women also, because they want to get more custody, to get more alimony, they then start trying to turn the children against their father. And that's really a bad thing because the father wants the best for the kids and tries to be a good role model to them usually, versus then the kids get other bad role models. And some of the wives, I know because I know a bunch of doctor guys that got divorced, their wives would keep going to the psychiatrist and try to stir up a fuss in some way. And also psychologists and the lawyer always wants to create more fuss because they get more money. And these women will sometimes go along with this craziness and they'll keep on stirring up more fuss with the lawyers, and the family will lose all the money that they had in the children's college saving. They will lose their family home, lose their house. And it's like, what are you trying to prove? You're so stupid. They're very destructive, these divorces. I've seen other, wealthy doctors have all the kids' college money saved up, and the divorce costs so much money they lose all the college savings. The kids have to take out loans. I've seen another guy who had a successful company, and the wife kept causing trouble with the divorce lawyers. The company's bankrupted. His company went bankrupt. He couldn't pay his bills. It just financially destroyed the family. Now the kids have no money for college. Plus, the kids are often very unhappy about it. The latest divorce friend of mine who comes up to me, starts talking to me, says the kids are like protesting the divorce and they're flunking all their classes on purpose in junior high and high school. It creates a divorce in the family. Plus, also, what do these women think they are? They're not like the hot babe on the cheerleading team in high school, okay? These women, most of them are fat slobs, in their 40s or 50s. A fat lady with children is not a hot item on the dating market. We're talking about a low SMV, sexual market value. You have your fun and excitement of romance in high school and college age pretty much, a little bit after that. But, once you have kids, you kind of got an obligation or responsibility to them. All these divorces, they're just stupid. They really have damaging effect on the kids. I know another guy who was a brilliant college student. He just dropped out of college. And it messed up his life for a couple years. He gradually started getting back together and ended up doing reasonably well, but it messed up his life in a bad way. And that's another thing too. The women are often trying to turn the children against the father so they can get more custody, so they can get more alimony from the father. But the children need the male role model. The fact of the matter is, women are good parents usually for the children up until puberty. But they're usually not very good parents. Most of the women of what I've seen are the middle age. They're not good parents for children after puberty. A lot of them, they're real conformists, so whatever is the current society trend, they go along with it. Even though modern society is bad, the father's more likely to say, no, we stick to the old ways. You need to behave, you need to be more responsible. The other thing I've seen is a lot of these women, they want to get the children out of the house. Go to your friend's house, have fun, goodbye. They don't, the father's more like, stay here. I need to know what you're doing. I want to supervise you. Because dads know how much mischief kids get into when there's no parent supervising them. Because they'll just go to some other family where the parents are divorced, and who knows if they're drinking, having sex, who knows what they're doing. So also, women are physically weak. They can't control a boy physically after he hits puberty. And the other thing too, women often have low standards for themselves even. What I mean by that is a lot of these women I know, they're kind of pretty. And so they're kind of used to being spoiled and pampered by men. And a woman who's even just a little bit pretty and has a little bit of social skills, she can just attract a man and he'll pay her bills for her whole life. So they don't really have to develop themselves the way a man does. A man, even a guy who's kind of good looking has to develop himself. He has to develop good marketable skills and learn how to behave and how to interact, or he's not going to be accepted by other men. Nobody wants to have sex with a man, okay? In general, that's in general true. So he better darn well prove he can make a living, he can support a family, he's responsible, he has to have good self-control. Boys who grow up without a male role model, a father around, they tend to be very impulsive, they tend to often be violent, they tend to get in lots of trouble, they tend to do poorly in school. What I've seen of women is they tend to trust children too much. Children are mischievous. They get into trouble. They do stuff they shouldn't do, and they need an adult around to supervise them. Whereas what I've seen of women is, go to your friend's house. I'll see you. Goodbye. We'll see you, Sunday night. And I don't think that's a good thing. Let's see. What else have I seen? The fathers, from what I've seen, the guys I know, they're happy to see their kids on the weekend because the dad's been working Monday through Friday. Whereas the woman's a little bit sick of the kids because she deals with them more. She drives them to school, takes them home from school. She's on the phone all the time with the nanny or whatever. Whereas the dad's just working all the time like a machine. So he's real happy to see the kids around on the weekend. But for that reason, the women just let the kids run wild on the weekends is what I have seen. The women want the kids to get good grades, but they often don't have the philosophic mindset of the man. Most of the time, the man is smarter and more competent than the woman. And that's for a very good reason. The woman married him because he was competent and she wanted him to take care of her. The man is sort of her survival ticket. Whereas the man married her because he's attracted to her and he wants to sleep with her and he wants her in his bed. So he was selected for his competence. She was selected typically for her beauty. And so he's more competent than she is, okay? So especially as the kids hit puberty and they need to start developing themselves, especially the boys, if they're ever going to be successful in this world, and then to have their father taken away from them, he's who they need most. They need mama to change their diapers and breastfeed them and stuff like that when they're babies, but they need their dad more than their mother most of the time when they're older. So these women are just creating a disaster for their children. And why? Because they're selfish. Okay, their husband's become a fat jerk and he's boring and he watches TV all the time. Maybe a lot of guys are like that, but a lot of them aren't. Most of the guys I know, they're all good guys. They're all hardworking, good guys, and they want their family. And in general, I see that as the men kind of married expecting, let's have a nice, happy family and live happily ever after together, okay? Whereas the women are often conniving. Well, this is the best man I can get right now, and then I'll just stay with him until a better one comes along. Then I'll divorce him and get some alimony from him, and I'll see how good I can do. They're constantly trying to move up. But the reality is the most attractive a woman's going to be is when she's about 20 years old. So she's going to keep getting less and less attractive in a physical sense. So her ability to attract a good man is going to just keep decreasing and decreasing. And so, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Okay, and when you cheat, you potentially bring in sexually transmitted diseases and all these other problems. So anyways, the point I'm saying is they need their father and his more advanced skills most of the time, more than they need their mother once they hit puberty. But the divorce does the opposite. And the way the marital system's designed is it kind of puts the woman in charge because she's got more power. She controls when they make the two-bag peace. She's the one who comes out better at divorce. So she tends to have more power in the marriage. And that's often, I think, detrimental because it kind of puts the stupid person in charge of the smart person, whereby the husband has to take a lot more crap from her than he should because he doesn't want to get divorced, or he wants to sleep with her at night too. So it kind of has messed up the family. What I've seen is, all the middle-aged women I know of, almost all of them, they're unhappy and they're grouchy and they're bitchy. Whereas back in my mom's day, most of them were pretty happy. I went around to their houses and places and traveled with my mom and I saw it. Things are totally different now, much worse now than they used to be. Women thought they benefited from feminism. What they're ending up is divorced and alone and with messed up families and with much fewer kids. And a lot of them are single cat ladies, or they were real promiscuous. They got sexually transmitted diseases. They damage their fallopian tubes from sexually transmitted diseases, and they can't have a baby anymore. They're infertile. They spent too much time on career, and they lost their looks. I don't know. I see much, much, much more unhappiness than I did when I was a young guy. So all I'm saying is, if you got a husband who's trying his best to keep the family going, and the kids are hanging in there doing okay, stay with them. What are you going to do better? What are you going to do? Be divorced, get rammed by a couple guys, and then, spend the rest of your life alone? What good is that?